Welcome back to Vizaural, and this is the second part of our Best of 2018. So before I get into this second set of songs, a few things I've learned just now being on YouTube for a couple of months. Part of it is just kind of behind the scenes stuff of figuring out, okay, what is the kind of thing that is going to get any response from individuals? Obviously, there's lots and lots of YouTube channels. We didn't start this up thinking we would get, dozens or hundreds of listeners or viewers, but we were, pleasantly surprised in the videos that did pick up that kind of coverage. I find that for the most part, if I talk about a record that just came out that has a cult following, probably going to get some people who are going to stumble upon it and watch it. When we're talking about a record that is what I consider a cult classic, but really it just means that no one else out there knows what this record is, and I talk about it like Jermaine Jackson. Those don't seem to get as much traction, but that's okay, because really the point of this is just talk about music that we love, and hopefully if you're just now discovering our channel, you can go back and take a listen to some of those other records or other reviews. I've also learned that YouTube can be a bit finicky when it comes to copyright. And I shouldn't say actually YouTube, because it's the copyright holders that can be kind of a challenge. Where a music show like this, where we want to play at least a little snippet of the song itself or the record we're talking about, that's kind of the structure and the form that I had in mind when we started this up. So when I look onto the list of all of the songs or records that are basically banned in every country, you cannot use this song. If you use 10 seconds of it, your video is going to get banned. I'm very shocked by some of them. In fact, some of them are very large bands like Steely Dan or Donald Fagen, people I wanted to do some videos about, but I decided, well, I'm just not going to do that because obviously, you're not allowed to use any of their music. But even some odd releases. I've done videos in the past for very small indie acts, some, with music from Mexico in the 1950s, and for whatever reason, those are the kind of things that would get a video banned, and I have to go back and re-edit it and do all of that. And yet there'll be certain bands like Aphex Twin or Paul McCartney or the Beach Boys, people we've done videos on, and we've had no problem whatsoever. In fact, those videos we still could monetize technically. So I really don't know how it all works, but we're going to try as best we can to just navigate this very complex legal field. So let's talk about some other great records from 2018. This next one is by an act called Park Ji-ha. She is a classical experimental musician from Korea. Last year she came out with an excellent record that got a lot of great press, and this is the one that came out in 2018, a record I really love. I've been playing it a lot. It's great background atmosphere music, but something that also gets you to think about the world around you a bit differently than perhaps you would if you didn't have that record playing. The second act, Molly Birch, is an Austin singer-songwriter. I just happened to come across her. I think I was playing maybe Nico Case on Spotify, and sometimes it'll just roll after that record into some other acts that you might like. And this is just one of those albums that came up, and I'm glad it did. She's a really interesting singer-songwriter. She doesn't capture the kind of same singer-songwriting vibe that I think a lot of kind of indie country acts have. That she really has an interesting delivery. In fact, on this song from her new record, she comments on the fact that she is not a normal singer.
That's not my style. I don't need a scream to get my point across. I don't need a yell to know that I'm the boss. That is my choice, and this is my voice. You can tell that to the
This
boys.
is actually another Korean band. This band is from Busan, one of the second largest city in Korea, a band called Say Sumi. And I know they've been around for a little while. They definitely were musicians who are interested in Yola Tango and Pavement, and you could tell in their sound that they've borrowed some of those things, but I think that they've added their own interesting twists, and this is a record I played a whole bunch this year, especially because, I lived in Korea for some years, and sometimes I get a little sick for it. I want to return and have some of the great food, meet some of my friends from there, and a record like this just reminds me of how great the place can be. great deal of acclaim, and a lot of people already talked about it. In fact, I first heard it was released by some pretty big journalists who were tweeting out, oh, the new Parquet Courts record is out. But this is a great record. If you're not familiar with this band, I would definitely go take a look at their past catalog. But what's great about this one, it feels very much like a record for 2018. It's not a super political record. It's not like Rage Against the Machine where they're talking about specific topics or issues, but you can definitely see within the lyrical content, this is a protest record, and it's a protest record you can dance to. It's an awesome piece.
Violence is the fruit of an unreached understanding that flowers from the lips of scoundrels. It is a forest so dense and rooted in our past. It tempts us to become lost in its darkness. It stinks like the piss test you were forced to take just before you were told you didn't meet the standards of integrity that this organization strives to maintain. Buying old folk songs about ATM machines that produce the likeness of the blaze of the Trail of Tears, issuing overdraft fees from beyond the grave.
This EP came out by a musician named Jesse Kivel, and if you are not familiar with him, he is the frontman for a band called Princeton, which made some really great, jangly, kind of clean pop records, or indie rock records from like the mid 2000s. And then with his wife, he made an excellent kind of new disco or synth pop band called Kisses. I've been a big follower of his for a long time. I actually think he's one of the best songwriters of our generation, and I guess he's been recording this solo record for a long time now, and there's just a couple of tracks on it, but it's excellent. It sounds very much like he's borrowing from Steely Dan and some of those really clean rock acts, that everything is meticulous and well crafted and well thought through, but it's an excellent record to listen to.
Put me to work. Take me to church.
Do a best of without looking at some of Ty Segall's records. I reviewed some of them on this channel. We've talked about some of them as well in the podcast, but I think the best kind of encapsulation of his aesthetic, the way he does things, is his record Freedom's Goblin. This was a double LP, lots and lots of songs on this record, and unlike some of his other releases, which can feel like a guy or a band that just goes into the studio for a weekend, they turn on the tape, they rock out some tracks, and that becomes a vinyl. This does sound a bit more polished. It sounds like a band that he's played with, and that they really tinker and toy with some of the songs and the arrangements that Segall has come up with. In fact, the song I'll play here, this is a song that in its first original form appeared on one of his older records called Sleeper. But I really love this record. It's a great introduction to his music as well if you're just looking for a place to jump in. Record is from a very accomplished Ethiopian musician, a keyboard player, accordion master, someone by the name of Halu Murgia. And I know he's been around for a while. He's led many bands. But thanks to the record label Awesome Tapes from Africa, I know that they helped expose his music to a larger audience, and he put out a really awesome record this year that pushes what was already incredible music and was very forward-thinking for decades. I mean, he was thinking of, this was like space rock and instrumental and experimental jazz before, a lot of people had even considered those sounds. And even now, as an older man, he's still pushing pretty interesting boundaries on this record. Classic All. I don't know how I could talk about a best of 2018 without talking about Aphex Twin. I've already done a review for his Collapse EP, but it is one of my favorite records of the year. I still play it a whole bunch, even though, it's many, many months old now, and there's been a lot of great stuff that's come after it. But here's a track from that awesome, awesome EP. Even while doing the notes to this second episode, I could tell you a bunch of records popped in my mind where I thought, oh gosh, that'd be good for a best of 2018. I just couldn't fit them all in. So again, just like with the first episode, tell us down below, what did you feel were some of the best records, the best songs that come out of 2018? We'd love to hear it. Until next time.